Hello. Hello, can you guys hear me? Just use the chat function and let me know if you guys can hear me. Okay, great. Thanks for letting me know. So welcome to the webinar that we are conducting now. So all of us are here today. This is Prasad, Sriram and Shashank are also here. So let's just go quickly through the agenda that we have. So this is our team. So I'm pretty sure that all of you by now know Learningroots, and I think most of you are already have already joined the group that we have on Facebook, which is MBA CET preparation with Learningroots. So this is our team. As I said, Shashank, Sriram, and Prasad. All of us have been 99.99 percentiles in CET. And we're based out of Mumbai. For all those of you who are joining from outside, we run classroom course for CET and CAT as well. And we conduct live sessions plus online course. We also have material and mocks for CET. And we do write a lot of articles on our blog, which is probably one of the most active blogs in the test preparation space right now. And we also run two massively popular Facebook preparation groups, one for CAT and one for CET. So in this webinar, in the next about 45 minutes or so, we are going to discuss the paper pattern of CET last year, how it was, and we'll also try and understand what are the things where you need to concentrate and what you can do in the next 83 odd days from now. So tentatively, I'm sure all of you know that CET is going to happen somewhere around 4th or 5th of March, but the exact date has not been announced. Considering that we have about 83 days, and I hope by end of this session you will have a plan ready for you as to what you can do. Something that I want all of you to do is, if you have a notepad or something, just keep a note of 2-3 things that you want to ask, so that, and you can put it in the chat window. Towards the end of the session, we'll have Q&A and we'll answer all the queries at that point of time. So coming to CET pattern, CET is one of the most popular exams because there's no negative marking in CET. And last year when CET was again 150 minutes, 200 questions paper, the difference was this time the paper was actually divided in the sections. Earlier when CET used to be again 150 minutes, 200 questions, the paper was not really divided. So you had flat 200 questions jumbled in any order. There were no sections, and you can decide what questions you want to attempt and how you want to attempt. And then the overall cutoff used to be somewhere around 130, 135 for a 99 percentile, and about 160 plus used to be the top percentile. So last year when the paper was divided in sections, these were the sections. First was abstract reasoning, which had 25 questions. So abstract reasoning was, again, we'll go through the individual sections in the next few slides. Quantitative aptitude had 50 questions, which also included data interpretation. VA and RC was combined 50 marks, and logical reasoning had 75 questions. So together, in total, this paper was 200 marks. And we have given suggested attempts, and once we go through the sections, we'll understand why we have given that, because the paper was difficult last year. So most of the students who took the test, the paper was difficult, and when we'll come to cutoffs, we'll see that how it was lower compared to the previous year's editions of CET. So let's come to the first section, which is abstract reasoning. Now, CET is unique compared to other tests because of the whole importance of visual reasoning questions. So earlier, the number of questions were not fixed, but because of the sectional breakup now, you have 25 visual reasoning questions. Now, these questions primarily are analogy and missing figure based questions. Compared to previous years, the section was relatively easy. So I'm sure there were people who have joined us now, and some of you might have taken CET last year. So the section was relatively easy, and those who had practiced a lot of visual reasoning questions, for them it was sort of a cakewalk. Now, again, a lot of people have this thing that they can't do well when it comes to visual reasoning. there's some sort of mental block, and our recommendation is right away get rid of that. In terms of strategy, don't skip the entire section, because what happens is if you go with the mindset that I'm not going to attempt the visual reasoning section, and it turns out to be the easy section, then you will be missing out on a lot of points. The other thing that you'll have to do is a lot of intelligent guesswork. What happens for visual reasoning is that there are questions where you need not solve the entire thing, but you can eliminate options, 2-3 options you can eliminate, and increase the probability of getting the right answer. So some of these things work really well, and out of 25, as we saw in the previous slide, one could have easily attempted about 20 questions with 80 to 90% accuracy. Moving to the next section, which is again one section that a lot of people are scared of, is the quantitative ability part. So quantitative ability in CAT and all other entrance exams, if you see, is slightly difficult. Whereas in CET, the focus has always been on arithmetic and a few other chapters, where most of the questions are direct formula based. So if you know the formula and you've solved a fair number of questions, then you should be able to tackle these questions. So the depth of knowledge doesn't really matter, but as long as you know the basic concepts, the formulae, and you can apply those formulae, then you can solve these questions. So primarily arithmetic, algebra, geometry, PNC, probability, if you focus on these things, numbers is fundamental to quant anyway, so you need to practice that. But you will not get questions that you typically get in exams like CAT and ZAT when it comes to number systems. There were 3 DI sets of 5 questions. Again, this becomes a differentiator because for DI, your percentage, the chapter, the understanding of it has to be really well. Because there will be questions where you will have to do quick calculations, understand what all shortcuts you can apply, and quickly take a few guesses. These questions are calculation intensive, and you don't get a calculator, which means that you have to have some command over calculations. And it's whether you will be able to attempt all 3 sets, not too sure, because there will be questions that will take time. So in a 5 question set, if you can do 4 and there's the last question which is taking a lot of time, probably it's a good idea to skip that question. Because in CET you have a lot of questions, you are in a time crunch situation. So don't waste time on anything that takes a lot of time. When it comes to strategy for quant, of course, you'll have to prepare in the next 80 odd days. But when it comes to test taking, solve easy formula-based questions early on. So if you're starting with the section, make sure that you are able to identify questions that are easy and attempt those with at least 100% accuracy. Because for moderate to difficult questions, probably your accuracy is going to drop anyway, somewhere around 80%, 70%, and so on. So it's a good idea to attempt the easy ones and get early start. Now, a lot of people have this fear of quant that they'll not be able to do well. So, and it's only 50 marks, so we might as well not prepare quant and attempt the remaining 150 questions. But it doesn't work as a sound strategy if you're targeting the top 4 or top 10 institutes. So don't skip the entire section, as it is important from accuracy point of view, because if you're solving a quant question, you apply formula, you get an answer. If you see it in the options that you have in front of you, you're almost certain that you have solved it correctly, unlike questions where you don't know what the answer is. So solve a lot of questions, somewhere around 40 to 50 questions of each chapter are enough to understand what all concepts can be asked and the question types that can be asked. But of course, you'll have to practice more so that you work on your speed and solve them in probably less than a minute or about 45 seconds. Coming to the third section, for quant, again, as we had mentioned in the beginning, as the section was difficult, because there were questions in DS especially which were calculation intensive. A good aspirant could have attempted about 25 to 30 questions with 90% accuracy at least. Again, these numbers are suggestive. So it's not sacrosanct that you have to attempt 25, 30 questions. So it's not a cutoff per se. But if you're looking at doing well in the paper overall, and you're looking at solving all the easy questions, there were about 120 questions that one could have attempted. There were others which were difficult, and probably one should have ideally skipped those questions. Let's move to the next section, which was the easiest section of the last year's CET, which is the verbal ability and reading comprehension section. So it had good mix of vocab and grammar questions. A lot of questions were straightforward, synonyms, antonyms. So in these questions, the advantage is that either you know it or you don't. Now, it will work in your favor in case you know it. It doesn't in case you don't. The good thing is it doesn't take a lot of time. So within 10 seconds, 15 seconds, you're done with that particular question. There's no negative marking, so you mark something and move on. The sentence correction questions were pretty easy again. So if you're thorough with your grammar rules, and on our website we have put a PDF as well which has grammar rules. So that is something that you can refer to. Sentence starter questions made a comeback after 2014. So for 1 year you didn't have sentence starter questions, but they made a comeback in 2016 paper. Coming to para-jumble questions, again standard CET para-jumble questions with 6 jumbled sentences. So you have some sentences given and you have to arrange them to form a logical sequence. The closed passages questions were also simple. So overall, if you get a feel of this question, and if you talk to people who had taken last year's CET, they will tell you that this section was probably the easiest section, and those who actually did well possibly did it because of VRC. There were 2 RCs, again moderate passages, not very difficult, and factual questions. The advantage of CET RC passages is that most of the time you read a question, you go back to the passage, you will find the answer somewhere. So these are what we call the factual based questions, not really inferential questions, where you really need to read the passage thoroughly and understand what the author is trying to say and then answer. Coming to strategy of when it comes to VRC, again, maximize your attempts. As I said in the beginning, that this section doesn't take a lot of time. So if you're extremely fast in this section, you will finish with your 50 attempts in probably about 30 minutes or so. So try and maximize attempts, of course, genuine attempts as much as you can in this section. One advice is don't spend a lot of time. 25 minutes, 30 minutes max is something that you should spend. Of course, there will be situations where you sort of overthink whether this sentence should come before the other sentence or so on. But try and understand that you have 150 minutes and you have 200 questions. So that the time that you need per question, that calculation has to be there at the back of your mind. So coming to the first slide again, VARC was the easiest section, and hence a good attempt in this section is actually 45 to 50. So one could have attempted the whole thing. I'm not saying that it was easy to get all 50 questions correct. But even with a 90% accuracy with a 45 attempt probably you would have hit a decent score. And coming to the last section, which is the logical reasoning section. So there were 4 sets and arrangement, and now what has happened in CET in the last few years is that the logical reasoning section has always been difficult. So logical reasoning, if you see, I just made a typo there. So at the top of the screen you see logical reasoning 50, but the actual number is 75 questions in logical reasoning. So 4 sets on arrangement, circular arrangement, blood relations, arrangement with directions not specified, and so on. But all these sets had a lot of conditions. So generally when you have so many conditions and questions starting with if, you end up spending a lot of time. You spend about 4 minutes, 5 minutes in the set, and then you think that, okay, I'll be able to crack the set. And sometimes you do end up cracking it, and sometimes you don't. So just figure out if you need to understand when to leave a set. So if you're reading 4 sets, first of all, figure out which is the set that you want to attempt, which question type you are most comfortable with. Are you comfortable with circular arrangement, blood relations, table arrangements, missing data, whatever it is. Just figure out where your strengths are and then tackle those questions first. Now, in this section, you also had questions on syllogisms. So syllogisms, again, not very difficult. And these questions are typically, if you understand all A's are B's, no A's are B's, and so on. Again, you have a nice PPT that we have created on our website, which you can download on syllogisms, which will explain all the concepts that you need to know. Not very difficult. Input-output questions have always been present in CET paper, and at times they used to give, I think, 5 to 10 questions on input-output. But now they have sort of limited that number, and you generally get one question type. 5 questions with one set, which means that there is some logic that is given. There is an input and output with few intermediate steps. You need to crack the logic and then apply the same logic for the questions. Blood relation questions are generally easy unless they are clubbed with some circular arrangement or table arrangements. DS questions again were not difficult, and for somebody who had prepared for the quantitative section well, the questions would have found the questions to be very easy. Now in this section, you also had questions on inference, conclusion, strengthening, and weakening arguments. Some of these questions were tough, but some of them were pretty straightforward. Again, for these questions don't spend a lot of time. And when it comes to the overall strategy of attempting this section, first of all, you need to be extremely quick while deciding whether you want to attempt a set or not. And the other thing for standalone questions is the 15-45 second rule, which means that within 15 seconds of time, if you have cracked the logic or you have understood what needs to be done, then you will attempt the question and you will try and finish it in 45 seconds. If there is some temptation that I'll attempt this question, I'll probably spend some time, the max that you can spend is about 45 seconds. And if you're not able to crack even after that, then you leave the question straight away, mark something, and move to the next question. So this whole management of your temperament is also something that you will have to master. And that is why we advise students to take a lot of mocks so that they are prepared for the worst situations. When it comes to number of attempts in this section, considering the last year's paper, it was hardly 30-35 marks that one could have actually realistically targeted because the paper was difficult. And we'll come to the overall marks that students actually got in this paper. Overall, again, 120 to 135 would have been a good score, and we'll have a look at the scores now. So if you look at scores and percentile, last year the topper score was 99.99, so Shashank got 165 marks, and 99.9 percentile, if you see, was 136. So there's a lot of difference between a 99.9 and a 99.99. Because the paper was difficult, you will find a lot of people in the range of 90 to 120. So your 99.9 and 99.5 had 11 mark difference, which means that those 11 marks will sort of decide whether you will make it to a particular institute or not. 99 percentile was 119. And how you understand that a paper is difficult is when you see these scores. Traditionally, if you see CET papers which were of moderate difficulty level, 130, 133, 135 used to be around 99 percentile. And this is straight 16 marks less than those levels. The maximum score that anybody has actually got in CET historically has been 179 on 200. And if you look at the graph, you will see that there are a lot of people between 40, 60, 80 score range. But nobody wants to be there, right? Everybody wants to get a 120 or a 130 plus and make it to the top 4 or 5 institutes. So this is the overall idea when it comes to CET, that the paper pattern, the last year's cutoffs, and so on. Now, let's look at some of the commonly asked questions, which are related to strategy. So first of all, how to prepare while working. Now, I understand that most of you might be working at this point of time. There are people who have left their jobs and preparing for MBA entrance exams. Some of you might have taken CAT and planning to take the other exams as well. If you're working, If you have 5-day working, then great. You have Saturday, Sunday to prepare. But most of the times we have seen what people do is they don't prepare anything on the weekdays. They think that they will prepare on the weekend because they have holiday. And invariably they end up going out or having fun, and the preparation goes for a toss. So the more in smaller steps that you take, it is easier for you. So start with something like 1.5 hours every day from now. You have about 80-83 days. Even if you prepare for 1.5 hours, solve about 50-60 questions every day. That will, first of all, it will build a habit of sitting at one place and solving questions. And of course, you will also solve a lot of mocks along with that. Now we have already, so a few days back, about I think 2 weeks back, I had put this post on our website about the 100-day preparation plan for MBA CET. So even if you're planning to start now, it's not too late at this point of time. You can download that Excel sheet and you can start with the plan. For most of the topics, you will see that those topics appear twice in the entire plan, which means the first time you solve a few questions and build concepts. The second time you're building on the knowledge that you actually got and solving more questions. So how many questions should one solve before the test? Coming to the preparation while working part. 1.5 hours every day on the weekdays. On weekends, of course, you'll have to stretch. In case you're attending sessions somewhere, then you have to spend time there. So whatever time you get, make sure that you're spending it in preparation, because this is something that you have to do for the next 80 days only. CET is generally the last exam of the season for most of the students. And after that, it's purely your group discussion and interview preparation. How many questions should one solve before the test? So we have done some math, and the number that we have is roughly about 7,000 questions if you want to do well in a test. Why 7,000? You can ask us later and we'll explain it to you why 7,000. But we are talking about somewhere around 4,000 questions that you solve as practice without any time limit, or when you're learning concepts, or while you're attending sessions. Another 3,000 questions will come from the mocks that you take. So every question that you solve in a mock is considered under those 7,000 mark that we have created. So try and see how you can achieve that mark as early as possible. Does that mean that you should stop at 7,000? No. We have seen a lot of people taking 30, 40 mocks. We have seen people solving only 10 mocks, but then making it to the institute that they want. So there's no definite number, which brings us to the next question as to how many mocks should one take. We have seen people taking anywhere between 1 to 40 mocks for CET and making it to institutes like JBMS. So there's no definite number. You need to understand what your current level is, first of all. So if you haven't taken CET before, or you haven't taken any mock this season, it will be a good idea to take a mock right away and see what your score is. If you're scoring somewhere around 110, 120, then you can build on this and reach 130, 140, plan for 150 and so on. If you're less than 100, probably the issue is content. So you need to build on your content rather than your speed at this point of time. Spend another 30, 40 days building your content, and then spend the remaining half on taking mocks and building your speed. So our standard recommendation would be somewhere around 15 to 20 mocks, which should give you enough practice before CET, and it should not get boring at any point of time. So we all believe that one should actually love the preparation that you're doing. So the moment it becomes something that you really have to do, and something that somebody is pressuring you to do it, and there's no fun, then you sort of get lost in the preparation stage only. So enjoy what you're doing, take as many mocks as you want, but the moment you feel that, okay, this is sufficient, take a break, but don't take extended breaks. So don't take a 6-day holiday at the end of this month, not really recommended. We are not saying don't have fun, but do what you must. Now coming to test taking strategies. So CET at a point of time used to be a 200 question paper without any sections. So instead of attempting it as a 150-minute 200 paper, people used to segregate it as 40 questions, 5 papers of 40 questions each. And for every 40 question set, you will spend around 30 minutes. And you will try and finish that set in that time limit. Another strategy that people used to have, and a lot of people with really good attempts who sort of attempt 180, 190 genuinely, they have the strategy that they'll start from first question and go to the 200 question and that is it. So I think Shashank will agree to it that, so even my time, both of us started from the first question and finished on the 200 question. So Sriram's paper was slightly difficult. So a lot of people could not attempt all 200 questions, but even in that paper, Sriram managed to score AR5. So coming to the sectional strategy, because the paper is sectional now, what you can do is you can decide which section you want to attempt first. So either you are if you're comfortable more with visual reasoning, probably you can start with visual reasoning and then take quant and so on. So you can decide the order in which you want to attempt the paper. And coming to the last thing, which is strength. So you figure out what your strengths are, and in every section you will attempt first the question that belongs to your strength, and then you'll solve the questions that are of moderate level. And if there are any difficult questions, you will either skip those questions completely or come to it at the end. So these are the overall strategies that you can use when it comes to taking the paper actually. But still a long path. From this point of time, I don't know how many of you have taken mocks. Those of you who have taken will have a fair idea as to where they stand. Just understand how much score improvement you need and what you need to do to get to that particular level. So we'll be taking questions now. If you have any questions, just use the chat function and add questions there. Okay, so I think we have the first question. This question is from Saurabh, and Saurabh wants to know what's the accuracy required in BARC, right? He's saying that his accuracy is generally 50%. Okay, so see, don't have a fixed benchmark when it comes to accuracy. In CET, we have seen that generally your accuracy is around 80 to 90%. If you are solving about 180 more questions, more than 180 questions, your accuracy generally drops. It will not be possible to maintain 100% accuracy. So if you have understood that in BARC your accuracy is 50%, figure out what areas are the problem areas. Are these areas parajumbles? Are these areas something from RC? Maybe the strategy of attempting RC is incorrect. So for RC, again, two strategies are there broadly. One is you read the passage and then you go to questions, or you go to questions first, read the options, and then go to passage and see where you will find those options. So figure out where the problem is, and if you want, you can probably at a later point of time just put it on the Facebook group or message it to us, how you have attempted VARC and what your accuracy has been in the individual components of VARC. So from there we will be able to guide you in a better way. But for now, just understand where you're making mistakes and see what can be done to fix that. Is it grammar? If it is grammar, then it's something that you can easily work on. For inference-based questions, you need to read a lot. So for VRC, make sure that you're reading regularly for about 30-40 minutes, whatever it is. Either it's an international magazine or a non-fiction book or just news articles. But read. So more reading will definitely help in VRC. And it's better if you go through grammar rules at the beginning and then see how to apply those in the questions that you're going to solve. we'll take the next question, which is from Mimamsa. What are the top 5 absolute must other than material and aspirant is recommended to work on so as to ensure a good percentile? So top 5 things. Okay. First of all, it's the ability to leave a particular question. Most of the times you will find that there are questions that are pretty tempting, and you will fall in that classic trap of attempting that question. So when you're solving questions, be extremely fast while leaving questions. You read a quant question. While reading, if you've already understood what needs to be done in the question, great. If you haven't understood anything, how much time do you need to put in additional to what you already spent to crack that question? If it is going to be more than 1.5 minutes, no, skip the question and go to the next one. So that is my first thing, that you need to understand when to leave a question. The other thing would be to work on your speed normally, which means that even in a non-test scenario, when you are given a question, you should be able to solve it much faster compared to others. The third thing is temperament, because we have seen a lot of good candidates not doing well in the actual paper. It's the nerves, the pressure that you have to do well in 2.5 hours, and that's why you need to take a lot of mocks so that you develop your temperament. The fourth would be the energy side. So what happens is in a CET paper, since there are so many questions and it's almost like a robot that you're solving questions, that the tiredness starts kicking in after the first 1 hour. So you need to keep the momentum going, and that's why the energy management is something that will come through mocks and by sitting at one place and solving a lot of questions. And the last thing that that is a must-do thing, or something that you need to master, is the ability to understand the difficulty level of the question. So this is different from ability to leave a question. Now, when I say difficult, ability to understand difficulty level is whether this question is to say level of difficulty 1, 2, or 3, or how many aspirants will be able to attempt this particular question, which is something that a lot of people who do well in these exams understand, that if this is a question, if this is a difficult question, how many people will be able to attempt this question, and can this act as a differentiator when it comes to the final score? So these are the 5 things that you may want to consider if you're looking at a good percentile. Coming to Saurav's question. Saurav has asked a lot of questions, so we'll go one by one. This year also CET will be in sectional format, most probably, but we'll have to wait for the official notification. Somewhere in the month of Jan or Feb, we'll have that idea. Last year it was conducted by IBPS, and that's why a lot of people thought that the level of difficulty was tougher compared to the earlier editions. Verbal and QA is my weak area. In QA, I can only solve DI, not QA questions with 100% accuracy. How should I strategize? Okay, so we have discussed, sort of we have already covered the verbal part. Coming to QA. Now in QA, as I said, a lot of questions are direct formula based, which means that if you know the formula by heart, most of the times you will be able to solve that question. So what you can do is, which is a good exercise to do, for every topic that you have, you first go through the concepts, then you go through solved questions and see what, whatever book that you're using, what the author has used as a method. Once you have understood that, then you try and figure out, is there a quicker way to answer that question, or could you have done it in a faster way? The more time you spend with each and every question at this stage, it will pay off. You will understand the question types quickly, you will be able to solve them quickly. When it comes to solving questions, again in the beginning you can take your time, but after a point of time yourself. 30 minutes, 40 questions, push yourself, 25 minutes, 40 questions, 20 minutes, 40 questions. Can you go through 40 questions quickly and figure out which 20, 25 that you can actually do? If you can solve DI questions, I'm hoping that your percentage is already in place, your understanding of the chapter. Now, most of the arithmetic is again percentage dependent, and so if you know percentages, ratio proportion, you can do topics like alligation. You can understand mixture solution, time speed distance. So some of these interrelated topics are easy to crack if you do one topic well. And again, whatever quant doubts you have, if these are specific question doubts or strategy doubts, feel free to put them on the Facebook group. LOD 1 and 2 from RS Agarwal will be enough for CET or not. So RS Agarwal is overall a fair book for CET aspirants because it has a lot of questions. So if you're targeting to solve a lot of questions, then you'll definitely find it in RS Agarwal. 1 and 2 should be enough, but one of the drawbacks of RS Agarwal is that there's a lot of repetition. So you will have the same concept, pretty much the same question, with some value change, with some names change here and there, and basically it's the same question. So don't waste a lot of time once you have mastered the particular question type. As this year we have GDPA for JBMS, how much percentile is required to get a call? Okay, so when JBMS did this process 2 years back, which was the first time that they did it, the cutoff to get a call was somewhere around 95.7 in CET, if I'm not wrong. And not everybody who got more than 95.7 got a call. So essentially what they did was everybody, so this is about open category, there was a separate cutoff for reserved category students. So if you have 95.7 plus in CET, you are somebody whose profile will be considered for evaluation. Now after this, the written score that you have will be converted to, the weightage of it will be 60%. The remaining 40% will come from your past academic record, your work experience, extracurricular activities, and diversity. So that will be the remaining 40%. After this, they will arrive at a final score, and whoever manages to clear the cutoff that they have in mind will get a call. So they had given about 1700 calls last year when they did the process for 120 seats. How much percentile is required to get a call? We saw a few students who did well in the written test but did not make it to JBMS because the VAT, group discussion and personal interview did not go well. Which means that there's no guarantee that even with a good score you will actually make it to the institute. But we didn't see a lot of people with less than 98.8 converting. So if you're thinking of getting a call and converting, a safe score would be somewhere around a 99.5 or 6 to be, so to say, certain that if you don't mess up your GDPI, you will definitely make it to JP. Other thing that is there is the CAT part as well. So you have students who have prepared for CAT, who have other calls. So the competition is going to be tough for JBMS this time. And the higher or the more you score, it is better for you. How many mocks one should take? I've already answered this. Anywhere between 15 to 20 should be good enough. But again, you can always take more than that. What should be the preparation plan for non-working aspirants? Do they give mock daily or on alternate days? Daily mock, see, if you are somebody who doesn't get tired with mocks, fine, you can take mocks. But this is not the, it's too early to take a mock on every single day. So if you start now, unless you're thinking of taking 80 mocks, I don't see the point of doing it. What you can do is probably somewhere from now you can start with something like 2 mocks per week, and then increase the frequency depending on your score. If you start hitting a good score, your target score, then probably you can reduce the number as well. So daily mock, no, I'm not a big fan of daily mocks. On alternate days, yes. The gap day in between 2 mocks can always be spent in analyzing your performance and finding out areas where you can improve. I want to join 2 different mock test series. Which one should I join? Learningroots. So that's my first answer, of course, considering we are the ones who are making questions. So in addition to that, of course, you can take any one of your choice. If your friends have already taken with any of the established players, probably you can share your IDs and just get a variety. I think that is something that will work for you. So go with, I would say, some established player if you're looking at any other mock apart from Learningroots. While attempting the mock, should we attempt all the questions right from the first mock with tukas or first few mocks only genuine attempts? I'll always say go with genuine attempts. Till about last 7 to 10 days, stick to genuine attempts. This will give you a clear picture of where you are rather than misleading you, because if you mark questions randomly, there's a high chance that your score will increase by 10, 15, 20, 25 if you're lucky, which doesn't really help. So till about, I would say, mid-Feb, stick to genuine attempts. After that, you can practice marking the remaining questions so that you get used to it and don't miss out on a question in the actual paper. Where can I learn visual reasoning from? Okay, so mocks is, of course, a good source to practice visual reasoning questions. Now, in addition to this, I think there are a lot of books available in the market that you can use. So I think even R.S. Agarwal has a book for visual reasoning, but I haven't solved these books, so we can't really recommend that, okay, this is the book that you need to use. All of us practice most of the visual reasoning question from mocks. What I think worked for all of us is solving a lot of visual reasoning questions, basically taking mocks and understanding where our strengths were. So, for example, I am particularly good at series-based questions, so I'll be able to quickly identify the logic. When it comes to odd man out, probably I sort of struggle compared to the series-based question. So this awareness has to come, and for visual reasoning, I would say roughly about 700, 800 questions purely of visual reasoning should be good enough. Considering it's only 25 marks, don't spend a lot of time, but identify question types, and around 600, 700 questions I think should be enough. Whether the order of the sections has to be pre-decided before the start of the exam. No, not really. It's there. So you need not decide the order and stuff. You can always go to the paper and then just be ready, because there will always be situations where things that you haven't prepared for will happen. And don't go with a fixed mindset that this is how I'm going to attempt the paper. So have strategy A as well as in case that strategy fails, what's the plan? Miran Sheikh is asking what should be the safe score to negate a poor academic record. I've already answered the GPMS GDPI part. There is no safe score, to be frank. Poor academic record, last to last year the criterion was around, I think, 60% throughout. But how many marks they actually give for what percentage, that slab was not given. So whether a 90% guy gets the same marks as 85% guy, we are not sure. So can't really comment on the exact safe score. But for written, I'm always in favor of something like a 99.5 plus. I have time CAT books. Will that cover CET also, or should I purchase CET books? So some of you might might have the same question, that you have CAT material. So don't do your moderate and difficult level questions. Probably moderate you can still do, but don't solve difficult questions. So you will never get a question like the last two digits of 23 raised to 49 in CET. Not going to happen. So all your level of difficulty 3 questions should not be done for CET. So for all the topics, just use the basic questions, level of difficulty 1 and maybe a few moderate questions. Whether you need to purchase separate CET books, I don't think so. But of course, you will need 1 or 2 mock test series, which will give you easy to moderate questions and enough practice. What is the difficulty level that one can expect for this year's CET as number of aspirants is expected to increase? I am not too sure whether that is considered when it comes to setting a paper. So generally papers are set keeping in mind, just they try to sort of replicate what they have done previously. It is always easy to continue with the same same composition, and that's why we are hoping that pretty much it will be same. Difficulty level can't really say. So you go to the paper and then figure out if it is easy, then go for the kill and attempt as many questions as you can. If it is difficult, be a little conservative and go for more accuracy. Which is a good book for verbal and quant questions? Again, we have discussed this, so probably a lot of people prefer R.S. Agarwal, verbal, non-verbal reasoning. Maybe something that you can use. None of us really prepared through CET specific books anyway, so can't really recommend something, but if you are confused, feel free to drop us a line that I'm confused between this book and that book, then we can probably evaluate which one is better. Diversity is for gender or educational for JBMS. It wasn't mentioned clearly, so it just said diversity. It can mean now anything, but considering the educational, the academic record is already considered in the 15% weightage that it has. I think that this diversity is the gender diversity. So JBMS generally has about 30 female students out of about 120 students. Of course, the number varies, but that is typically the distribution between male and female. So I'm hoping it's gender diversity and not educational. Home university and outside home university concept will not be applicable for JBMS this year? No. So if we were to believe the email that I got yesterday, there will not be home university and OHU split. This split will continue for other institutes that accept CET scores, which means Sydenham, Somaiya, Wellinger, and so on, but not for JBMS. Level of difficulty, safe score. Okay, 99.99 is generally 160 plus. So, but again, see, if you look at last year's CET paper, which was disaster of a paper, people had scored 182 and so on. So there is no safe score. But when you look at the paper, and if you're a good aspirant, you will understand that what is the level of the paper. Is it a 150 or a 160 or a 170 paper? And then you modulate your performance accordingly and then go for higher score. So level of difficulty, anybody's guess. Don't know at this point of time. Does your team provide mock analysis to an individual after he has taken Learningroots mock? Any shortcut session coming up in future from your team in Jan and or Feb mid? Yes. Okay. So when it comes to mock analysis, we don't do it for each and every student because there are so many people who are taking mocks. But the analytics that you get after the mock is good enough, so it will help you understand what you need to do. For one mock, in case you want to analyze it with us, feel free to send your split. We'll definitely get in touch and help you. Any shortcut sessions? Yes, we're planning something in Mumbai in the month of January, and we're also planning a few online events. And if you're there on the group, you will get all these updates. So Abhijit is sharing his experience. He's saying, I appeared for IBPS and I saw significant increase in level of difficulty. Can we expect increase in level of difficulty in this year's CET as well? After giving IBPS PO, pre and mains, I observed that traditional questions are not being asked nowadays. Where can I find advanced level questions? Also, I would suggest Learningroots to bring up questions that one can see in actual CET paper. Okay. So as he has rightly mentioned, we also got this feedback from a lot of students who took the bank entrance exams. The paper, the difficulty level has increased considerably over the last year. will the same thing happen for CET? See, frankly, we don't know, and we don't even want to say that, okay, this is how it will work. If the paper is difficult, it is difficult for everybody. That is what you need to understand. And at the end of the day, you are going to get a percentile. So it's not how many questions you have solved, but how many questions others have solved relative to you. And percentile works that way. So you just need to be better than most of the people so that uh, you do well, you get a good percentile. So coming to answer your question, we don't know what will happen with difficulty level. But for advanced level questions, yes, we'll try and put as many advanced questions as we get on the website, as well as on the Facebook group. In case you guys are encountering any such questions, feel free to put it on the group. We'll try and answer them whenever we can. Okay, coming up with mocks. So our mock series has already started. If you go to courses.learningroots.in, you will be able to purchase our mocks in case you want to. And I think 4 mocks are already live, and just go to the page and you can take a call. Does IBPS set the paper or just conducts it? So again, we are not too sure how the whole thing works. Generally what happens is either they will have a team, a dedicated team which will make the paper, or they will outsource this completely to a third party which will make questions and give questions to IBPS. So IBPS will just then either use that repository of questions, and then they will create paper sets out of that. Hello, Redmi. So Redmi is saying I gave CET last year without preparation, got 49 marks. I joined an institution in Pune this year for CAT, but I joined late, so my time was consumed in covering syllabus. Now I'm preparing for CET. My academic record is not good. I completed my engineering 6 years and aggregate of 57% in all semesters and 66% in last year. Do I still have hope because I'm starting now? Okay. So first of all, it depends on the target institutes that you have. Now, CET score is used by so many institutes across Maharashtra. But again, there are a handful of good institutes. So your profile is going to matter for in case you are applying to JBMS. But your profile doesn't matter if you are taking only CET and applying for the MMS programs of all the other institutes. So if you're applying to, say, interested in Somaya, MMS, Wellinger MMS, Dalmia, MET, Chetna, IES, MMS course doesn't care about your academic record. So it's good for somebody like you if your profile is like this. So you have, I think, if you prepare well, you try and get north of 100, 120, you get a good score, something will materialize for you. All the colleges where you have GDPI, your profile is going to create a slight problem, but you should definitely not lose hope. In addition to CET, I would suggest taking CMAT, MAT, ATMA maybe, and through that you can also try for the All India seats that these institutes have. So don't lose hope, start preparing from now and see where it takes you. Sudarshan, so our mocks, as I said, already started. Trisha Mehra, so gave 2 mocks to see where I stand. I must take home 131, time take home 112. Okay. How should I plan for remaining days? Weak area, the RC, syllogism, inequality questions, QA section accuracy is 60, 605. Okay, your FB page is really helping. Oh, thanks for the feedback. So Trisha, I think your score of 131 in IMS is good. Time 112 is slightly on the lower side. Time mocks generally, I mean, you'll find people doing well in time mocks also, because time, career launcher, IMS, all these players have good mocks. So, and they are moderate to difficult level. So you'll not get extremely simple papers. 131, definitely good score, and probably I'm not too sure whether they give percentile, and anyway percentiles don't matter at this point of time. But in an actual paper, something like a 130 in a moderate paper will fetch you 99 percentile. So what you can do is, for the question types that you have mentioned, which are your weak areas, uh, take up about 20-30 questions of each of these chapters, time yourself for some time and try to solve these questions. So maybe if you take 30 questions, time yourself for about 25 minutes and try and solve. The more offline practice you do, it will be better to improve accuracy. So generally your accuracy improves because you're practicing offline, and your speed increases if you're practicing in front of the machine. So you're taking mocks, that helps in speed. QA section, you'll have to definitely work on it. Anything less than 80-90% accuracy in QA is not acceptable, because, as I said, formula based, either you can solve it or you can't solve it. So if you're attempting the question, so basically you are saying that you attempted 5 questions and you got 3 right. For somebody who is at a level of 131, not a good thing. 4 on 5, 5 on 5 is something that you need to target. Visual reasoning, again, you have time, so you can improve there. Visual reasoning improvement won't take a lot of time. So in a month's time, I think your accuracy should go up. Okay, how to analyze a mock? Aniruddha, that will take, I think, another webinar. So we'll answer that question later. I think you will find an article on the website about mock analysis anyway. So go through that article. In case you have any doubts, do come back to us. We'll see if we can do another webinar with only how to analyze a mock and probably take a sample. Okay, Trisha is adding that she attempted 160, 148. Good. So your attempts are pretty good, which means that your speed is in place already. So this is something that used to happen to me as well, because I used to attempt about 160, 170 genuine when I was taking it for the first time. The more questions you solve, you will realize as to how to balance between your speed and accuracy. So if you're attempting 160 with a 90% accuracy, you will hit 144. But if you attempt 200 with 80% accuracy, you will reach 160. So this dynamics is something that you need to understand. For now, continue with what you're doing. Once we progress in the next month or so, you can again get in touch and we can see how we can help you. Rahul, okay. Learningroots provide solution and analysis of CET mocks. All the solutions and analysis is online. It's not in the video format. But if you're part of the video course that we have, we might discuss a mock or so. But video analysis for all the mocks is not available. When will sprint for CET start? Can you start it 2-3 weeks prior to exam? Yes, absolutely. So if you have visited the blog recently, I have already added 2 articles on number series questions and finding the missing number. So over the next 2 months, we'll keep on adding these articles and we'll also see if we can, we'll definitely do a sprint because we have done it this year for all the exams. We did it for CAT. We're running a SNAP sprint right now. We'll be there for that, so definitely for CET. Aniruddha is asking how to prepare for CMAT GK. Refer to Learningroots website. I think that's all I can say because see for GK, you can't really prepare in 1 month. But what you can do is you can go through questions that can be asked and that will help. For CMAT, 25 questions out of 100 for GK, significant weightage. On our website, we have been adding GK questions. So even for SNAP sprint, which is going on, you will see 15 questions being added every day. And if we also have the GK course where we keep adding updates. So I would say go through 6 to 8 months of current affairs that happened in the last 6 to 8 months. Static GK, a lot of people use Manorama yearbooks and so on, but it's disproportionate effort, to be frank. Probably you can do quant, LR and verbal and then improve your score there than spending time preparing for static GK. Which exams apart from CET one should appear for JPMS? Of course, now they'll take CAT and CET score only, so it doesn't make sense to take any other test. SIMSRI will continue with the same process that they had last year, which means uh, you can. So basically, if you are from Mumbai University, you are competing for 70% university seats and 15% all India seats. So CET, CMAT, MAT, ATMA, these are the 4 exams that are going to happen in the next 3 months that you can target. Shubham is saying, please do one webinar on mock analysis. Okay. Sure. Thanks for the feedback, Shubham. We'll see when we can do it. On the online course for CET that you recently launched. So online course sessions, we are starting from Monday. These are going to be evening sessions. So we'll be having 9 to 10:30 sessions every day, about 9 to 10:15 with another 15 minutes of problem solving. So these sessions will again be on the same platform that you see right now. These are live sessions, so we'll be interacting with students. Now we have kept everybody on mute because there are so many people here. But in that, we'll not be putting people on mute, so people can ask questions, doubts, anything at any point of time. We'll be explaining concepts, solving a few questions, and giving you some material that you can use. So that's broadly the plan, and the session plan is already there on the website, which you can go through. I hope that answers all your questions. If do you guys have more questions? Okay. We have another 5 minutes before we close, so we'll take about 1 or 2 more questions. Someone less than 60% in graduation won't get a call from JPMS even if he gets all India rank 1. Okay. Now, see, this has not been announced whether they will have 60% graduation criteria or not. So let's not jump to conclusions at this point of time and say that it's going to be 60%. It may be 65%, maybe 55%. You don't know actually. If you get all India rank 1, if JPMS decides not to call you, probably some SIMSRI will work out, right? So let JPMS do what JPMS wants to do. We can't do anything about the selection process, but the higher you score, the higher your chance of getting a call. Redmi, can we pay online? Yes, you can. Please give links to all your websites and blogs. Okay, so I'm just putting the main website here. Okay, so I'm sharing the main website that we have where we write all our articles, and you will also find links to the Facebook group on the link itself, on the URL itself. You have asked another question, which is, I completed my engineering 6 years. Okay, so for SC, I think for reserved category, last year, the CET cutoff to be considered for profile evaluation was 90% percentile. I'll just check once again where I can look for CET syllabus. I think it's already there. If you go to the exam information tab in CET, I think the syllabus is there. If it's not there, we'll put a post or we'll share it on the group. So don't worry. I hope your doubts got cleared, and feel free to get in touch with us. All of us are there on Facebook. We are pretty active there. Even on the website, whatever questions you have, just feel free to get in touch, and we hope to add a lot of articles, videos, and information on the website and the Facebook groups. So thank you for joining, and we'll see you in the next webinar. Good night. Bye.